All right, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever it is where you're coming from. Appreciate you coming back to Dan's Trades. As always, I'm not a financial advisor. Read the risk disclosures. Today is October 10th, 2024. It is currently about, let's see, get that thing out of the way and I can see. It is currently 7:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6:44 p.m. Central Time Zone. It's where I am. Move this guy out of my way. This is a look at today. The entire day, just regular trading hours for the New York, AM and PM and lunch. And I did some just ultra scalping today. I wasn't around for the open, so I didn't even get a chance to that come into play. So this is a 15-second chart looking at the day, so I'll just cruise in. Going to do a quick trade review of my trading activity for today. Did some earlier Asia trading this week that I made the mistake of using my same risk that I'm doing during the daytime and went in with a couple extra micros, 2 or 3, at a time that I wasn't used to. So ended up not being profitable, but it was a lesson. Next time I do it, I'll just use one. Maybe I'll go back and show that later in a different video. But just looking at what I saw and how I looked at it was like this. When I came into my charts, I saw some nice equal highs. We had just swept sell side liquidity here. I can draw that in to annotate it. Do some of this as I'm here. So there's definitely some sell side was taken once, twice. Didn't do a third. If you want to consider this, I'm not looking at 3 drives pattern or anything. But just noticing that sell side had been taken already from the morning. These 3. And I was still anticipating higher prices. These are the first presentation fair value gaps that I wasn't around for, so I wasn't watching these and didn't have a chance to get in on this long. So I saw price came down and swept some here, then it was continuing back up. So once we closed above this candle that is annotated with this shade of color is when I entered my trade. 3 contracts triggering right there. And I was targeting taking 1 off, 2 off, and then the third one up for the end dog was my third target ultimately, and this is just showing a little over 5 if I want to scalp for 5, which is also what I was kind of doing today. But so this one's going to be 3 and ride it. So I took the first one off right there. Then I looked a little bit farther left and I said, ooh, we had just filled the opening range gap prior to that. We might not go to the end dog. So I cut the trade off right here. Just closed it out early. There's the other 2 sold. So I got out early on that. And I saw it close back above, came down. It was respecting these fair value gaps. So I said, all right, if it wants to give another run, let's wait for the macro. That's the other reason that I cut this off, because I noticed that I was a little early, being as this was 10:44. It's 5 minutes before the macro. So I waited until 10:50 and to close above these inefficiency areas is when I triggered this entry right there. And I said, no, you are on the wrong side, sir. I said, oh, I just wanted this fair value gap. So I came down and took one more as it was up close candle closing inside that. Anticipating a potential run back up to take out this buy side liquidity. And obviously this and this and this. And it said, no, you're wrong. And I had my stop right here and I got stopped out. So I said, okay, if I'm wrong, I'm going short. And I reversed and I sold 2 right there. And I was targeting liquidity. There's where I took 2 off right there. I didn't see these at the time, I believe. I drew these in after the fact because I wasn't around for the first presentation. So I was targeting, again, just the 5 and not seeing that we came back. So targeting 5 points would have been exactly right there, 5.25. But took that one off. So that was a small little getting back. And I said, all right, we're going to do this long thing again because we closed back above, made a displacement through this swing high with a BISI. So we took a trade right there on the next, candle. And we dropped down into this volume imbalance. And I said, okay, it's going to come down and take a volume imbalance. So I had 1 more contract or 2 more contracts. So I'm in 4. 2 at 52, 20, 30, whatever that was. 58, 23, 58, 21 and a quarter. So core contracts, and then we saw it did respect, first presentation, and the fair value gap on a 1 minute chart. This is a 1 minute fair value gap. Looks like this is what it looks like on the 15-second chart. And then continue to wait until the end of the macro, taking out liquidity on the way. So took off 2 right here, right around 5 handles up, and then I was targeting next buy side still, or time. And I closed it out at the end of the macro at 10:09 as we started breaking back down. I said, okay, we'll just cut it off there. Hindsight, I can see I could have waited another 5 minutes and we would have hit this buy side liquidity. And into the lunch session, it did take out the New York AM high at that point. So it would have just made a higher high at that. So that's one thing that I have to watch myself on, is I'm always aiming for, you don't always aiming for the current session's high. Yes, you can, but that's not ultimately. It's always ultimately for a previous session or a previous PD array of some kind, not always the current. So that's why it makes a little more sense that it took it out in the New York session during lunch, in the New York lunch session. And I left at that time. I wasn't watching charts anymore. So lunch happened, and I came back towards the end of lunch. We got into the 1 o'clock hour. I was looking at the end of this macro from 12:50 to 1:10. And I came in seeing this, and I said, well, that was an interesting lunch. Yeah, I did take ran a lunch macro, took out some liquidity. I said maybe wants to take out just a little bit more for one more run down here before lunch is over. Looks like it was a late lunch run macro versus the front half of it. So as price broke down below here, I said, all right, we're going to take a short. Sold 3 contracts, and I was targeting the previous month's low, which is this green line. And she took it out right there. 58.20, 58.25, so that's a nice 5-handle scalp. Pretty much no drawdown at all, 1 or 2 ticks. Same kind of thing. So not much drawdown when I'm on the right side. When I'm on the wrong side, it tells me right away. So then it reversed, and there was no drawdown on the reversal. This we had a little bit of drawdown because I didn't see at the time that the first presentation and the first value gap right above it here, or what these are annotated. So this one we did have some drawdown. But for the most part, it was not beyond my risk management. 5 handles. So no problems there. Just a matter of building the patience. And then I said, yeah, that's probably enough for today. That was like 4 wins and a loss. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, so we're 4-1 on the day. I was getting to wrap it up, and I saw this happen. I said, oh, that's interesting. That nice rejection, and the candles closed right there. So I took a long as we were passing back through this this inversion fair value gap as we were preparing to come up to it. Took a long right there. You see the X. And anticipated it trading back up to what I thought was, so I had drawn in the first PM session fair value gap, but I knew that it was using the 129 candle, which was this 1 minute fair value gap. This is what it looks like on the 15-second chart. So I was targeting that initially. I said, let's go for, closer to 10 handles. We had a good morning scalping outside of that 1 loss. Stretched the legs a little bit, so we went in with 3. And I was just going to do a single pull up to this one. The more and more I'm liking the first presentation fair value gap spot, then I went back and looked at it after the fact, and I said, oh, because I closed out early right here because my target was here. We had moved within 75% of it, so I moved my stop about break even, and I'd moved my stop right there as price was up here. Preparing to hit my target is what I expected. But what I did wrong or incorrectly, this is my learning experience, was since I did use the 129 candle, I said, yeah, it's still a fair value gap out there, but it's not the first presentation of a 1 minute fair value gap, which was this. So it wasn't until 20 minutes into 16 minutes into the session I presented the first fair value gap whatsoever, which was, this is what it looks like on the 15-second chart. So it's right here. Or I might have moved this one. Hold on, let me fix it. I moved that on my phone by accident. Let me pause this. Okay, there we go. I found it. So let's get this guy fixed. Here's exactly what I did incorrectly. I knew it, but I saw it at the time, but it was still something I was aiming for. So here's the fair value gap on a 1 minute chart. So it's using the 129 candle, which isn't valid for the first presentation on the PM session in my rules. So I follow this all around. It's not till here is the actual first presentation. So that's exactly why price never closed above it. It opened above it, slammed right back down to the bottom of it, closed right on it. Then that's exactly where I closed my trade out, which is actually down here. That was where I had my stop move to on the 1 minute chart, the way it looks. And I was done then. Then I had to go ride the motorcycle because it's almost 80 degrees today. It's the last time in Minnesota. So I'm preparing for winter. Winter is coming. Beautiful lunch macro. Or excuse me, not lunch macro. PM macro. 315 to 345. And then she ran market on close. Oh, look. Huh, that's random. That's a beautiful, didn't come all the way back up to the high. Left it there for later. Maybe it's sitting in the PM session. Let's look. Oh, yeah, imagine that. Look at Asia now. That is live price. Asia's boring. We're not trading Asia today. Tomorrow is going to be PPI. Today was the CPI. I was not in front of the charts, but for my own edification, this is a beautiful case study. You may or may not want to pay attention to it. It's completely up to you. Took out the lows. Here's the 830 candle. This is CPI release. Took out sell side. Took out more sell side. And look, it took out the buy side later. Huh. Random. I should have been watching that too. So even though I'm zeroed in too much, I'm reminding myself, zoom out. It's amazing what you can see and try to remember. And on that note, we will remember that tomorrow is promised for none of us, which is why you need to live for today, which is why I was out enjoying the open roads on a Harley. Take care, and I will talk to you soon. Later.